Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here and haven't done so already, and make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a keep, sell or loan list for the current Chelsea squad. But first things first, Kev, how you doing, mate? You good? How you been finding things since the 2-week break from Chelsea? It's been quite nice, hasn't it?
Yeah, refreshing. Breath of fresh air. No more depressing weekends. No more getting frustrated every weekend that we're just playing shit. And, it's a breath of fresh air that we've got to have a new manager coming in. Hopefully we can bring some new faces and to start again, really. That's all it is. Chelsea Football Club now. It's just a brand new football club, and hopefully we can get rid of all the deadwood and crack on. But the last 2 weeks has been good, not having to see the shit we've been witnessing.
Yeah, no, but it has been nice. I can't lie, mate. Despite how shit we've been, I do miss it at the weekends. Like, you sort of get to a weekend, you're like, oh, I don't know what to do with myself. But fixtures come out on Thursday, so you already start thinking about next season. So I guess that's something to look forward to. And we've got an exciting summer potentially ahead of us as well. But let's dive straight into it, mate. Obviously, we're going to get this tier list going, and we're just going to be running through our thoughts on who we think should stay, go, or be shipped out on loan. Some of these are going to be very easy to do. Others, there's going to be a little bit more of a conversation to have around them. But Kev, let's start in goal, mate. What are your thoughts about? Obviously, we had Kepa as the number one last season, and despite our poor season, by his standards, he did have a good season. I don't think we can deny that. Where do you lie on his future? For me, I feel that he probably will still be at the club next season, just because how high his wages are, the amount of years he's got left on the contract, and it's going to be much easier to get rid of Edouard Mendy. I don't see a situation where Kepa leaves this summer. I mean, how do you see it, and what would you do with him?
Yeah, you're probably right. If I had to choose and his wages are lower, I'd get rid of him. He's had too many seasons in this club and he's not improved. I just think he's a decent keeper at best. But like you said, the wage issue is going to hold things up, so it'd be easy to get rid of Mendy, who's not up to it whatsoever. So with Kepa, I'd just keep, but we have to get in another keeper for the doors for the summer. David Raya has been linked to Tottenham to replace Hugo Lloris. He's a brilliant keeper, good shot stopper, available for around £30 million. And there's also this.
We've got Nana as well at Inter.
Yeah, and Inter AC Milan keeper, this French guy, what's his?
Yeah, Maignan.
Maignan, yeah, that's the name, but I couldn't pronounce it. Maignan, yeah. So, there's definitely replacements for Mendy, but Kepa's got to be no more than a second keeper for us.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I wouldn't be disappointed if Kepa was number 2 next season. I really don't think that's a bad thing. Like, obviously, if he's happy to assume that role, we don't know if he will. But obviously, the window's still young. It's not actually even officially opened yet. So whilst there's not really been any concrete links with Kepa moving away from the club, that could materialise over the summer and over the course of the window. But for me, I can't see us bringing 2 goalkeepers in. I think it's going to be a little bit too soon for Slovenia to be number 2. Bettinelli's obviously a third choice keeper just there for the vibes. So yeah, I guess with Kepa, it probably is a keep, but a keep under the premise that he is a number 2 next season. I think that's fair to say. On Mendy, we did loosely just touch on him there, bro. Unfortunately, I think his time's up at the club. He's fallen out of favour. He had a fantastic rise when he first arrived. He was massive for us in terms of the Champions League, the Club World Cup. Obviously, won the African Cup of Nations with Senegal as well. At one point, he could have possibly been the best goalkeeper in the world, certainly in the top 2 or 3. Mate, are you surprised at how badly his form has just fallen off a cliff, and he just looks nothing like the goalkeeper we signed at all?
His confidence is completely gone. I think once the last manager, who do we have? Graham Potter basically put Kepa in front of him, and I think that just broke his confidence. At the start of the season, he wasn't up for it as well. He made a few mistakes against Leeds. The first game of the season, he made a couple of mistakes there. So he basically set the bar at the start of the season very low. Obviously, there was disputes of his contract. He wanted 200k a week. Don't know where the hell he was wanting that kind of wage from.
I think
so he's obviously
just on that, sorry, mate, I think that's part of the problem of Kepa being on such high wages is that automatically that's like
to match him.
That's like the benchmark. And like for Mendy, I suppose at that point in time when he's contributed quite a lot to the club, he's going to want at least what Kepa's got and maybe a little bit more. So that's where we find ourselves in a tricky situation, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, when you consider yourself to be the number one and you've got the number two, which was Kepa, earning more money, then that's obviously going to play in the back of your mind. And if we're not offering the same wages, if more, you're going to feel like it's not fair. So he's probably done himself out a position in the team. Let's say thank you to him for the memories. He pulled off a couple of world-class saves during our Champions League winning year. But for me personally now, he's dropped that low. That is now coming back for him, and it's best that we sell him.
Oh yeah, no, he absolutely has to go. There's no two ways about it. It's a shame, but obviously, as you said, mate, we thank him for the service.
You put him in the loan.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. No, it's a shame that it's kind of come to this because he did do very well for us, but as you say, like ultimately, I don't think he's of the required level to really win the big trophies like the Premier League. We are going to need someone better, but we thank him for his service, and maybe we can use him as part of a deal to get Andre Onana through the door potentially, because Inter have reportedly been interested in Mendy. But let's wait and see what happens with him. But yeah, I think it's definitely time to move on. Bettinelli's third choice keeper. He signed a new contract anyway, so he's just going to be there for vibes. No point really talking about him. The young kids, Gabriel Slonina. I've had a lot of people talking about him in terms of maybe he should be given an opportunity as second choice this season. Personally, I feel it's too soon for him. He's done very well at age group level. He did well at the Under-20 World Cup that finished last night. He's obviously played in the MLS. He was playing some, I don't know what they call it these days, whether it's PL2 or Under-23s for Chelsea. But this guy needs to go out on loan somewhere, maybe one of Europe's top 5 leagues if possible, and just go and play regular first team football at a high level. I think that's going to be much better for his development. But still, he's only 18 or 19, so he's got plenty of years left. And we could even do a situation where, like with Thibaut Courtois, we could easily loan him out for multiple years. But I think that's going to be best for his development, is playing senior football rather than that PL2 stuff.
Loan him to either a Premier League team or Championship team. Keep him in England so he gets to know the culture and everything else, and then in say next season, the season after, bring him back. So give him like a 2-year loan deal, preferably in London. Maybe a swap deal with David Raya on a loan basis. Something like on the lines of that. Let's get him more, use him as a mate weight to bring someone more experienced in and loan him out for a couple of years. There is a good keeper there. I've seen videos and clips of him pulling off some good saves, but I think he's very inexperienced. I think obviously for him to come in, you need a big mouth. For a goalkeeper, you need to be like Kepa. You need to be very vocal. I don't think he'd bring that to the team right now. I think he needs more experience. So loan him out for a couple of years and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, he's an exciting prospect. And I say at 18, 19, like that's still so young, particularly for a goalkeeper. Like goalkeepers tend to be later developers as well. So yeah, he's got plenty of time on his side. I've got no doubt about it. Within the next 5 years or so, he could easily be number one, or he'll probably be the number 2. But he'll certainly be playing first team for Chelsea and getting minutes. So yes, Slonina on loan. I think with these centre backs, these first two are very simple. Badiashile keep, along with Thiago Silva. But let's talk Trevor Chalobah, mate, because that's going to be an interesting one. Because obviously with Levi Colwill coming back, we're going to have 6 centre-backs on the books. We're more than likely going to be playing a back 4 under Pochettino. Playing once a week, there's going to be minimal rotation. You don't want to be rotating your centre-back partnership much anyway. You want some continuity there to build a really solid first-choice partnership. Chalobah's been one that's been linked away with a move into Milan, a potentially interested club. He did just sign a new contract, though, not so long ago. So he is contracted at Chelsea until 2028. And the club have got another, could be lined up for the next 6 years. I like him. Good age. He can definitely get better. He's versatile. Obviously, with Gusto in now, the need for Chalobah to play right back probably isn't as great. But I look at him and he's got much higher potential than someone like Koulibaly, for example. But what would you do with Trev? Because it's kind of a tricky situation for him because he's not really going to be first choice playing at centre back. He's not going to play much at right back now. But
He can play defensive midfield as well, though, kind of.
He could do a bit of that. I'd be inclined to keep him round just because I think with his versatility, with his age, and with how much more he can improve as a player, that for me is much more important to the squad than maybe keeping someone like Koulibaly.
I'd keep him. Like you said,
Yeah,
just because of his versatility. I think he's still pretty young. We can't forget that little run he went on last season where he was unbeaten under Tuchel for how many games when he was starting games. So there was a phenomenal player in there. I just think he needs to be given a chance. I think he's probably got a season really to prove himself. For me personally, I'll keep him. He could do a job at right back, centre back, right centre back. He could do a job in defensive midfield as well. So I think just keep him for another season, see how it goes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the fact that he's got that contract behind him as well means that if we do let him go, we can actually get a decent fee for him because he's still got 5 years guaranteed on his contract. But I think he's definitely worth keeping around. And more often than not, every time that he plays, he rarely puts in a bad performance. It's been the odd one here or there, but he's really a reliable performer. So yeah, I'd be disappointed if we let him go. In terms of Koulibaly, we just touched on him. Out of the centre backs we've got, for me, he'd be the one that I'd be looking to let go of. Obviously, I know people talk about the experience factor. I think that's a point, but at 33 years of age, on 200k plus a week, I look at it and I think, other than the experience, he's not really done a lot in his first season. He's had good games, he's had poor mistakes. It's probably not really expectations. He's on a 5-year contract though, but I look at it and I think if we get rid of it, whether it's or whatever it is, he's. Look, I think with Koulibaly, that's your lot in terms of at 33. I don't think he's a better. So I would personally be looking to move him on. I was really excited when he came in, but ultimately I think we signed him probably a few years too late. I do always feel a little bit. It makes sense for Chelsea, Barley, if possible. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
I'd get rid of Koulibaly. He started off pretty well. He scored the equaliser against Tottenham in that game, and we thought it was on to win. We had a couple of good performances, and then he just went missing. He looked really lethargic, slow. He didn't really look up to the speed of the Prem. And that's the difference between the Italian League and the Premier League. He looked like a world beater in the Italian League. He's come to the Prem and he's always on the back foot and never looked like he was up for it. So for me personally, there's been talks of him going to Inter Milan. Maybe that could be the reason why we signed Onana. Could be a potential swap deal there. Just get him gone. He's not at the right age. He's tried his best, but I don't think the Premier League's for him. Just get him gone and keep Chalobah, get rid of Koulibaly, just go from there.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that for sure. Obviously, mate, whilst we're on centre backs, Colwell's not actually on this list, but what would you do with Levi Colwill? There's a lot of conversation around him. Would he be involved as part of the Casadei deal or not? Chelsea maintain they absolutely do not want to sell him or include him as part of any deal. My only issue is obviously Colwill looks like a top prospect. The club are really excited about him. He's going to be a great player. My only thing is, how often is he actually going to be? Is he going to play next season? Because unless he's starting, I can't see how many minutes he gets because you don't want to be rotating your centre back partnership much, as I said. But look, I'd be keeping him around the place for sure. But I'm just a little bit unsure of how often he's actually going to play. I mean, what are your thoughts surrounding Colwill? Because it's a tricky situation with a back four and you've got 6 centre backs on the books. There's going to be 2 or 3 that are massively disappointed. So Colwill, when you're young, you need to go and play. And I'm not saying that Colwell's not good enough to come in and start for Chelsea straight away, but that would be a big that's a big decision for Pochettino to make. So what are your thoughts on Colwill? Keep him around the place next season?
I'd loan him out again. Give him another. I think while Thiago Silva's literally got 1 more year left, and I think he'd be. There's no point us going out splashing the cash next year. We could loan Colwill out, get him some more experience. Also, get him some experience in Europe because Brighton are going to be playing Europa League.
Europa League, yeah.
Yeah. We want Caicedo. Just say, you know what, we'll give you Colwill for another year on a loan deal and we'll take Caicedo for £60-70 million. So basically, we both helping each other, let's say. So that'd be the ideal thing to do.
I would agree on that. I wouldn't want to get rid of him permanently, but if a loan deal was the only way for us to get Caicedo, then I would do it, because our need for Caicedo is far greater than our need for Levi Colwill next season, certainly. And then, as you said, once Thiago Silva, we presume it's going to be his last season, but he keeps going on and on, doesn't seem to be getting any, and doesn't seem to be showing any signs of slowing down. But you presume that next season will be Silva's last season, and then obviously Colwill can step into that berth left by him, and we don't have to go and spend a load of money on another centre-back. So I would personally agree on that. In terms of Ben Chilwell, Reece James, they're obviously both sticking about the place, which is good. I mean, all I ask for from them is, can we just have them fit for a whole season? That would be ideal. Azpilicueta, mate. Last day of the season, I was there. It didn't look like he was saying his goodbyes or anything like that, unless he's very good at hiding his emotions. But it didn't look like he was saying his goodbyes. Everything that he was saying felt like to me that he was going to be here next season. Now, from an experience point of view, he's worth keeping around the dressing room, etc. But I think we've got enough players that, you know, we don't actually need him to play that much. I can't imagine him featuring an awful lot, given we've got 2 fullbacks, 2 left backs, 2 right backs, multiple centre halves. I don't really see where he plays, unless he's just going to do like a sort of a John Terry role where he might play a couple of games in the cup, but he's just there for experience around the dressing room and the training ground. Then that's the only way I can see him staying, because he's not going to play any football next season. I just can't see it.
I went to the last. I went to City away.
Oh yeah, we were there.
Yeah. When that left winger, what's his name? That young lad.
Oh, Cole Palmer.
Cole Palmer. There we go. Sorry. Absolutely give him the runaround. He looked like he was stuck in the mud. That's how bad it was for him. No offense to the man. I think his heart's still in the club. He loves the club, but his legs have gone. Him playing on the wing back or right back position it's disastrous for us. And the best we could do with Dave is keep him in and around the changing room. Obviously, we've got Pochettino coming in. They both speak Spanish. We've got a lot of Spanish-speaking players coming in. Maybe he could help to get them into the team and just be like a advisory kind of role. So a bit like John Terry that season, cup games and league games. Just sit him on the bench and he can help out and he can let these new players know a bit about the DNA of the club. So I think he's important to keep around.
No, I would agree. I think purely based on that experience factor and know-how of the club, nothing to do with playing ability at this point in time. Obviously, I've put Wesley Fofana straight in the keep. No conversation to be had about that. Marc Cucurella. This is another one that kind of can divide opinion amongst the fan base. For me personally, I'd be keeping him just because, one, he's still reasonably young. 2, yes, it's been a tricky first season, but there actually is a really good player in there. And I feel that he actually does deserve another chance. And I think under Pochettino, he could do pretty well. But he absolutely has to hit the ground running next season and step up that level of performance. Because, yes, we've seen good performances from him. He's done well against Borussia. He did well against Borussia Dortmund. He had a good spell of games where he was doing well. But he's also had some difficulties. Obviously, things off the pitch haven't been great for him either following his move. But I think there's a player there, and I think he can be useful for us and be good for us, over the coming years. So next season's massive for him. He needs to have a good season. Otherwise, 2 shocking seasons back to back, and you start thinking, we probably need to move this guy on. But ultimately, I'd be keeping him. And I also, even if we didn't want to keep him, I just can't see any offers coming in anywhere near acceptable for what the club would accept, given how much we paid for him last summer. So I'd be keeping him. I mean, what are your thoughts on Cucurella?
I'd keep. He's new. He's new to the team. He was new to a system, and he came into an absolute mess. So I don't think it's completely his fault. Never really had a stability of position as well. One week he was playing left centre back. The next week he was playing left wing back. The next week he was playing left back. I think if we can find a position for him to play every week, he'll be better. Obviously, he knows the score. I know he knows that he'll be second fiddle to Chilwell when Chilwell's fit. But I still think he can do a good job as a second left back. So yeah, I'd keep for another season.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, mate. Obviously, let's move on now. Enzo Fernandez is a no-brainer. We've got to build the team around him. He's not going anywhere. Obviously, Kante's on there. He's gone. Kev, how did you feel about Kante's departure, mate? It's a shame that we never got to say goodbye to him. ultimately, I feel that one, we couldn't compete at all financially with that Saudi Arabia offer, no chance. And two, I just feel that inside the club, I probably feel there are reservations about his fitness issues because, yes, he got himself back fit playing, but then he was injured again after about 5 games. And yes, his level's very good, but ultimately, at that age that he's at now, he's just an injury waiting to happen. He's just every time he steps on the pitch, you're just waiting for him to go down and get injured. And I just think ultimately, whilst his experience would have been great and he could have still provided a lot for us at a high level, the amount of injuries and his fitness concerns, for the amount of money that he's on, yes, he potentially could have taken a pay cut. I just don't really think it made sense anymore. And I'm just sad about the fact that we didn't get to say goodbye to him. But what are your thoughts on Kante? Do you think ultimately probably was the right thing to do for him to move on?
His heart's in the club. Us as fans love him. He loved the club. He's a match made 11, but I think his fitness has let him down. He was one of our highest paid players in the team, and for him to play 10 games a season, it's not acceptable. So I think, if a team's offering you, what is it? Is it 500k a week, 300k a week?
Oh, mate, it'll be
500k a week.
Yeah, yeah, it's £86 million per season, whatever that works out as.
500k a week he's on.
Yeah.
So
easy,
for him to get that at his age, coming to 33, and he can go over there and he can be 20% fit and still walk through any teams.
Yeah,
I just don't think the pace of the Prem is for him now. I think he still what the thing with Kante is. I think he still wanted to be the old Kante, but his legs wasn't matching his ambition, if you see what I'm trying to say. So I think in the Saudi Arabian League, he could just take his time, earn his £2 million a month for the fee he's going to earn, and just be happy to see the rest of his career. But absolute legend for the club. But I think it's time for him to leave. Yeah,
but I would agree. Mate, Kovacic obviously looks like he's going to join Manchester City, so he's going to be in the sell category. But I mean, I know we think a little bit different on this one, Kev. For me, Kovacic has done well for us. He's produced a high level of performances over the years. I feel, for me personally, over the last 12 months, he's been on a bit of a decline. It doesn't look like his head's in it at the club. Before the World Cup, we would have to limit his minutes because he was nursing a knee injury, and then he goes and starts every single game at the World Cup for Croatia. He comes back, and then he's not fit again. Level of performance hasn't quite been there for the last 12 months, I would say. And ultimately, I know he's a good player, and he pops up with the odd worldy goal here or there, but he doesn't offer any assists and he doesn't offer any goals from midfield. So in that Chelsea team, what is he really offering? That's my point. And look, people say I was going to Man City. Yeah, it'll be a shame, but at Man City, when you're not producing any output from midfield, it doesn't really matter because they've got players that produce the output, whereas we don't. So him producing minimal goals and assists in a City midfield doesn't matter, but producing no goals and assists in a Chelsea midfield is a massive problem because we've got none of it. So I think Kovacic has been a great player for us, but again, ultimately for me, it's about time that we moved on from that Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic 2018 midfield vibes and we kind of started again. Kova wants a new challenge as well. Nothing against him for that. And ultimately, selling to within the Premier League is going to get us the most money financially for him. And I think at City, yes, he'll play a bit because they're in so many competitions, but he'll just be a squad player there. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on him, Kev? Because I know you like him and you probably still think he could do a bit of a job around the place.
Yeah, he could still do a fantastic job if his head was in the club and he was getting managed properly. Like he said, he's come back from the World Cup and he's been on a decline. You can blatantly see he doesn't want to play for the club. So if he doesn't want to play, there's no other way we can do it. He has to go. Unfortunately, it's going to be to one of the rivals. But, like you said, there was Bayern Munich being linked to him. I would have liked him to go there personally. But if they don't go for him, where else is he going to go? There's not many teams that are going to offer 30, 40 million pounds for a player that, is just going to be a squad player. So, fortunately, he's got to go. But like you said, there's players in that position in the Prem that are picking up more. There's leaders in other teams. I've said this before, start of the season, when we had Kovacic and Jorginho. All they want to do is pass left to right, left to right, left to right. They never want to hit the ball. There's Ruben Neves, he clearly wants to leave Wolves.
Yeah.
Wants to leave Wolves, wants a new challenge. Why don't we go in for someone like that? He's a leader. He's been the Wolves captain for the last 4 years. Very vocal. Ruben Neves is a brilliant player, and he plays in a similar role to Kovacic, but he doesn't hesitate to shoot 40 yards out. If you go look through his videos on YouTube, see some of the screamers that guy has scored over the years. He's available for £40 million right now. So I don't see why we're missing out on players that are going to bring in more assists, more goals than what we've got right now. And so I just don't get it. But Kovacic, yeah, thank you for your service, mate. But I think it's time for you to go as well.
I would agree, mate. I mean, onto Loftus-Cheek next. He is leaving. He will leave. I actually feel a little bit sorry for Ruben in terms of maybe sorry is the wrong word, but I feel that he could have still been useful in a squad role because he never moans about his minutes. He always puts 100% in on the pitch, and as a squad rotation option in midfield, I actually think he could still be useful. But ultimately, at this point in his career, he needs to do what's best for him. And if he can go and play regular football elsewhere, then that's what he needs to go and do. And it's just a shame that Achilles injury, when he was doing so well under Maurizio Sarri, seems to have kind of set him back. Yes, he's got himself fit again, and there have been some decent performances from him, but it looks nothing like the player that was absolutely cooking under Sarri but before that Europa League final. So whilst we thank him for his service and he's never moaned about anything, he's been a great professional for us and a great squad player. I think for him and probably for the club, it is best that he moves on this summer. Would you agree, mate?
I think with Ruben, I think we're looking at the end product there. I don't think he's going to improve anymore than what he is. He's 26 now. I think the injury that he got hindered his progress with the squad. I think if he never got the injury, we wouldn't have loaned him to Fulham and Palace. I think he would have stayed with us because on his debut season under Sarri, mate, he looked like a world beater. He looked, we was
Europa League hat tricks and all sorts.
Yeah. We was liking him to freaking Zidane at some point and this and that. And obviously he had that injury and that was it. I think it's a good player to have on the squad, but I think the reason why we need to get rid of him is to clear up the wage bill, and obviously with the FFP, we need to get rid of a certain amount of youth players. So I think he could be used as one of the players, unfortunately. But another player done well for us, but I think it's time for him to move on and let's bring in someone else.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. Let's move on to Mason Mount. Looks like there's still not really much update on his future. Still hasn't signed a new contract to the club, and United, despite kind of having talks with him, Chelsea are insisting on that £70 million that they want for him. So they're a bit of a bypass in kind of what's going on there. I personally would like Mason Mount to stay still. I'm not saying as a starter because you have to earn that right and you have to improve those level of performances to get that starting role. But I think under Pochettino, he could be really good still. He can develop his game more and he could be really useful as a squad player for us. So the fact that we're getting rid of so many players, like Mount would be useful to keep around the place, not only because for the homegrown quota, but at 24 years of age, he's definitely got his best years ahead of him. He can develop more as a player and he can be very good for us still. So I wouldn't be happy with him leaving. But again, I probably have to preface it with, if he leaves, then we need to make sure we get the incomings absolutely spot on. We have to bring in players that are better. There's no point bringing in someone worse or of the same level. We need to get someone better if we're going to be moving these guys on. So I would like Mason Mount to stay, but ultimately it seems to be heading in the direction that he won't. But never say never in football. You just don't know. But I think it would be a real shame if we let him go.
I just think the situation of him now has dragged on for too long. And there's a bitter feeling around the situation now. I feel like there's too much water under the bridge for him to bring back. Now, I'd like to keep him, but I just think I think he will go. And like you said, over the last 3 seasons, if you look at attacking midfielders in the Prem, there's players who've done better numbers. Keeping average to say, James Maddison last season, he got 10 goals and 8 assists last season. That's 18, with a relegation team. You see what I'm trying to say? Mason Mount for us, 3 goals and 1 assist. Not acceptable. If you want 300k a week, how the hell you putting yourself forward for those wages when you can't even compete with players that have been relegated? So, that's the reason why for me I'll probably sell. But if his heart's in the club and he can get his head down and work and he wants to prove himself again, the door's open. But if he comes with his attitude, let's get rid of him, because it's not good for the dressing room having that kind of player around.
Yeah, no, for sure. If he doesn't want to be here, then we absolutely have to get our money and move on. Simple as that. Conor Gallagher, another young English midfielder, could get us a decent fee if we were to sell him. But again, we need to be careful here, because everyone seems to be, all the midfield just seems to be leaving. So Gallagher again's another one where I think he can be a good squad player. He doesn't really moan about his playing time. Look, he's not the best, but he always puts a shift in. He works hard. And again, at 22, 23 years of age, you would think he's someone has got more to develop as a player. And I think as a squad player, he could be useful to keep around. But ultimately, if a bid of 40, 45 million pounds were to come in, you definitely can't say no to that sort of money for Conor Gallagher. So personally, for me, I probably would sell. But again, that would be based on us bringing suitable replacements in. But I think Gallagher ultimately probably is best to move him on.
Gallagher, I'd keep just for a squad player. We can't, like I said a bit ago, we can't completely get rid of the midfield.
Everyone, yeah.
We still need players that know a bit about the club. He's been at the club from when he was, 6, 7 years old. He knows everything about the club.
Come through the ranks, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just keep him. He knows the situation. He knows he's not going to be a starter. But say, for instance, we had an injury, he could come in and do a decent job for a couple of weeks. So just keep him as a squad player.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, ultimately, I think Chelsea could well end up keeping him, but again, if a 40 to 50 million pound offer did come in, you can't really say no to that money for Conor Gallagher. That's kind of the reality of the situation there. Cucurella, he's been linked with a loan move to AC Milan. I think he's been badly treated by the club in his first season. Should have played a lot more minutes than he did. The minutes that he did play, I actually thought he looked pretty decent, and I think he's a player that, again, has got an exciting future, someone that can develop really well under Pochettino. So it's tricky about loaning him out, but because you'd think you want him to go and play regularly, but then I think he can actually be of use to us in the squad as well next season. So I personally would keep him. But I mean, what are your thoughts on Chukwuemeka, mate? Do you think a loan could maybe be better for him?
Keep.
Yeah.
When I look at the team now, we're getting rid of Kovacic. We're getting rid of Loftus-Cheek. Our only 2 ball-carrying midfielders in the team, they'll be gone. Chukwuemeka, I've seen him for Aston Villa, under 21 development team. He can really get up that pitch. He's a really good carrier of the ball. I think we've got our League Cup games next season, FA Cup games next season. I think he could be used in those games. And that's his chance to prove himself. I think, like you said, he never really got a fair opportunity last year. So I think this season, under Posh, hopefully he gets his chance. If he doesn't come up with the goods, maybe a loan next year, because the guy is only 18 years old. So give him another season to prove himself. If he doesn't really come up with anything, loan him out next year. But I think it's too soon to be letting him go.
I absolutely agree, mate. This is an easy one. Aubameyang, sell. Christian Pulisic, also sell. See you later. Obviously, Mykhailo Mudryk will be a keep, but it's a big season for him next season. Needs to push on, but there's undoubted ability there. Sterling will be a keep. We know he's going to stay, and I probably would keep him for one more season anyway. What are your thoughts on Armando Broja? I definitely keep him. He signed a new 6-year contract at the club. There's no point loaning him out. I think he'll be the number 2 striker next season, and I'm excited to see how he's going to play. I mean, the funny thing is, he got injured, he would have played a lot of minutes this season, I feel. And I think there's an exciting player there. When he was playing, he looked half decent. So, he's going to stay. The only thing you could possibly say is, would he go on loan? But I don't think that's an option for us.
Just depends on his pre-season, really, and how this ACL holds out. Because, once you come back from such a horrific injury, it takes you quite a long time to get your mind back in it, because it's always going to be playing in the back of your mind. I've had an ACL injury before, and you never really, you go into challenges, you back out, so it just depends. If he doesn't really recover from it mentally, maybe a 6-month loan deal somewhere else just to get his fitness and confidence back up. But if he comes back and he's half the players he was last year, I mean, he's pressing and his hunger to get on the ball, he impressed me quite a lot. So he'd definitely be second choice. So it's in between a sell and a loan. Keep and a loan, but just depends on pre-season. So just say keep.
I think keeper as well, mate, for sure. João Felix obviously left. Ziyech, get rid of this guy. Not even a conversation to be had there.
Yeah.
Kai Havertz, mate, linked with Real Madrid. It's on a little bit quiet at the moment. We have to get rid of this guy. It's been 3 years now. We haven't seen anything from him at all that suggests he's worth keeping about the place. Absolutely, get all we can. 40 to 50 million pounds. Move on. Simple as that for me.
Yeah, simple as that.
He has to go. He has to go. Into the sell category. Obviously, Madueke is going to stay. I'm excited to see how he develops next season. That Fofana, that's going to be a loan deal. Just go and play regular football, see how you develop. To be fair, mate, I don't know about you, but on the few occasions that he has played for the first team, I actually think he's looked all right.
Yeah, he has. He came on against City in the FA Cup when we was losing 4-0, and he looked like the only player that wanted to get on the ball. Everyone else was gone at the point, and he was the one dropping deep to get the ball and just trying to do something. There is a player in there, I've seen highlights of him from his previous club. There is a player in there what could do a job, but I feel like a loan deal, maybe to someone in the Premier, Crystal Palace, like a London team, anyone like that, just to get him more minutes and get him some, experience in the Premier League. And then next year we can take him back. So I think a loan would be the sufficient thing to do.
Yeah, obviously Malo Gusto's keeps and he just joined the club. He's not going anywhere. Ian Martson, I think that for me is a sell. We're fully stocked in that left back area. Obviously, of course, he's done really well on loan at Coventry and then Burnley last season.
I'll give him a pre-season to see how he gets on.
But when's he going to play? Because he's not going to get ahead of Chilwell. He's not going to get ahead of Cucurella. And Lewis Hall arguably is ahead of him in that left back slot as well. He's just not going to play anywhere.
Maybe Lewis Hall could go out on loan and we keep Mason. Because you've got to understand, you're fighting for, doesn't really matter. You're fighting for, he done a really good job at Burnley, didn't he, last year?
He absolutely did. The only thing is, though, if he was to go out on loan, he'd have to sign a new contract and then go out on loan. Because I don't think he's got that long left on his deal.
I think probably sell him if anything.
I think a sell is right on that. Who else have we got here? Let's have a look. Cesare Casadei. Obviously, looks really exciting. Had a great.
I'll keep him.
Great
no doubt about it. Keep.
I keep him as well. I think he's exciting, mate. He's a goal-scoring midfielder. It looks like, and I think the club are excited by him. And I think, look, I don't want to put pressure on the kid, but I think Pochettino could do something similar potentially with him, or maybe sees him in a similar way as he did with Dele Alli. Someone that. Maybe he's not quite as skillful as Dele Alli, but in terms of an eye for goal as a midfielder, this guy looks good, and I think he could be one that is definitely worth keeping around the place.
We have not had a goal scoring midfielder since
Lampard. Yeah, mate, that's
there you
mad.
go. So that's. Have we had one after that? Let me think.
No. Maybe Fabregas potentially, but he needs to score a lot of goals. Not in the same way as Lampard did. Yeah,
we haven't had a goal scoring midfielder since Lampard, and that's Lampard left 7-8 years ago. So that goes to show
it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, we did have a goal scoring midfielder in KDB, De Bruyne, and we let him go. So we've got to keep him. We've got to keep these players in the. We don't want to loan him out. And he goes and does a brilliant job for someone else. Why not just keep him and work with him and let him do a brilliant job at us? That's what I say. Keep him in the team. Don't loan him out. Keep him. Let him have a good pre-season. Give him the confidence and let him have a run of games in the team because he's proven that he can score goals. He's absolutely smashed the Under-20s World Cup. I think he got 7 goals or something.
Yeah, it was player
7 goals.
And golden
Unbelievable. So he's got to stay 100%.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that, mate. Lukaku is one that I think it's going to be a loan. I don't think we're going to be able to sell him. So that's going to be.
There's been talks about Saudi Arabia. Hopefully, one of them oil guys comes in with the funds and just takes him off our hands. The quicker he gets off our books, the better for everybody. He absolutely stinks. He stinks. He had one job to do on Saturday and he let us down. I hate the guy.
If we're going to loan him out again, then there has to be an obligation to buy at the end of the second loan because otherwise we're just getting mugged off. So we either sell him this summer, he's included as part of a deal for a Nana or whatever it is, or at the end of the loan, they have to buy him, because otherwise it's just, what are we doing? We're just loaning him out year after year until his contract expires.
Inter Milan are absolutely getting an amazing. They're getting a 90+ million player. They're not paying the majority of his wages. Like Inter Milan are rubbing their hands, thinking, "Okay, we'll have him again next season." Basically, got a free player, and where they're paying, it's the situation. It stinks, mate. Just if we can get 30 million pounds from him, just take the loss. I want him at the club. Just get him gone.
I would agree on that. Callum Hudson-Odoi is sort of a forgotten man, but
I'd sell him.
It's time to sell, mate. Look, it's a real shame because again, another guy that's still so young at 22, and was doing really well for us. Picked up a serious injury like Ruben, and it's not quite been the same since. I think it is.
He's got all the skill, all the pace in the world, but his end product is far from it. If you can't get in the Bayern Leverkusen team under Xabi Alonso, what chances has he got of getting in our team next year? Very minimal.
Yeah,
so
no,
just sell him on.
I agree, bro. I think we've got one more left, and that's Lewis Hall. What would you do with Lewis Hall, mate? It's a tricky one. Loan?
I'd loan. Yeah, loan.
Yeah, I mean, he's been sorry, mate. As I was saying, he's been linked with a loan move to Crystal Palace. I think that would be great for him if that were to materialise.
I think if he gets a run of games next year, he'll come back. And if Cucurella hasn't done the business for us this next season, Cucurella goes, and we've got a more experienced player to come in the season after. I think, like from what I've seen, he's very fearless. He wants to run with the ball. I think he needs to work on his defensive attributes a little bit, but attacking wise, he's fearless. He'll run at players. He'll take players on. Got a wicked cross as well. So he could do a job with the Prem. But I think with the amount of minutes he'll get at Chelsea, won't do good for him. I think if he gets into a bit of a lower team like a Palace ideal match, gets say 30, 40 games under his belt, that'll do him well.
Yeah, agreed, man. And just the final one is not on the list. Andre Santos, the young midfielder. I think it's better. I'd send him on loan just because I mean, I think we're going to have what? We're going to have, let's say we have Casadei, Enzo, and then let's say we sign, Caicedo and Lavia, and then you have Santos as the fifth, maybe. There's a possibility there. I think at some point we do have to give these young kids a chance. I mean, personally, for me, I'd probably rather loan him just because he's never played outside of the Brazilian top flight. But again, that's going to be based on who comes in. If only one midfielder were to come in, then absolutely keep him. But if more than one comes in, it may be more beneficial for him to go out on loan and play regular minutes somewhere. But let's kind of wait and see what happens on that one. But yeah, that rounds out the keep, sell, or loan list, guys. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below with us, whether you agree or disagree with any of the decisions made. Kev, thanks for your time. As always, bro, greatly appreciated, guys. Make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And we'll catch you again in another video soon.